Hello, children. Welcome you all to ninth Standard English class. Today, I'll continue the lesson on saying please written by A.G. Gardner. In the previous class, we had discussed about the bus conductor who was kind enough to issue a ticket to the author who had forgotten his wallet. Gesture shown by the conductor stayed in the mind of the author forever. In today's class, I will be continuing the lesson which is related to the polite conductor. Open your textbook, page number 130, children. I'll be reading para 8. Please follow. A few days after, my sensitive toe was trampled on rather heavily as I sat reading on the top of a bus. I looked up with some anger and more agony and saw my friend of the cheerful countenance. Sorry, sir, he said. I know these are heavy boots. Got them because my own feet got trod on so much, and now I am treading on other people's. Hope I didn't hurt you, sir. He had hurt me, but he was so nice about it that I assured him he hadn't. After this, I began to observe him whenever I boarded his bus, and found a curious pleasure in the constant good nature of his bearing. He seemed to have an inexhaustible fund of patience and a gift for making his passengers comfortable. I noticed that if it was raining, he would run up the stairs to give someone the tip that there was room inside. With old people, he was as considerate as a son, and with children, as solicitous as a father. He had evidently a peculiarity, warm place in his heart for young people, and always indulged in some merry jest with them. If he had a blind man on board, it wasn't enough to him to set him down safely on the pavement. He would call to Bill in front to wait while he took him across the road or round the corner or otherwise safely on his way. In short, I found that he irradiated such an atmosphere of good temper and kindliness that a journey with him was a lesson in natural courtesy and good manners. Moving on to explanation. A few days later, the author again boarded the same bus, and suddenly someone stamped on his toe. With pain and anger, author looked, and to his surprise, it was the same cheerful conductor. Even before he could say anything, the conductor started humbly saying sorry to the author for hurting him. Author was so pleasantly surprised with his behavior that whenever he boarded a bus, he observed his behavior and was wondering that how can such a person be constantly so good natured, as if he has a stock of patience and his behavior was an added gift to the passengers. If it was raining, he would run up the stairs to inform them that there was a room inside, help the whole people, behaved like an adorable father to the kids in the bus. He was friendly with the young people. He was ready to help blind or handicapped people, help them get down the bus and cross the road. A ride with him was a lesson of natural courtesies and good behavior. Anyone observing could learn a lot from him. Moving on to the next paragraph. What struck me particularly was the ease with which he got through his work. If bad manners are infectious, so also are good manners. If we encounter incivility, most of us are apt to become uncivil. But it is unusually an uncouth person who can be disagreeable with sunny people. It is with this manners as with the weather. Nothing clears up my spirit like a fine day, said John Keats, and a cheerful person descends on even the gloomiest of us with something of the benediction of a fine day. And so it was always fine weather on the polite conductor's bus. As his own civility, his conciliatory address, and good humored being infected his passengers. In lightening their spirits, he lightened his own task. His gaiety was not a wasteful luxury, but a sound investment. Difficult words. Uncaught, a person with rude behavior. Second one is absence of difficulty or effort. John Keats has said, "Nothing clears up my spirit like a fine day." What does that mean? That means a fine, beautiful, and a sunny day refreshes and regenerates us. It is nothing like that. If you meet a person who is cheerful, spreading joy, then the atmosphere around him will also be cheerful. Usually, we have a conception that bad manners are infectious and spoils the atmosphere. It is partially right, but at the same time, even good manners are also infectious. A cheerful person can make even a darkest day bright with his behavior, just like this conductor. When one works in a joyful atmosphere, definitely work doesn't seem like a burden. 10th paragraph. It is a matter of general agreement that the war has had a chilling effect upon those little everyday civilities of behavior that sweeten the general air. We must get those civilities back if we are to make life kindly and tolerable for each other. We cannot get them back by invoking the law. The policeman is a necessary symbol and the law is a necessary institution for a society that is still somewhat lower than the angels. But the law can only protect us against material attack. Nor will the liftman's way of meeting the moral affront by physical violence help us to restore these civilities. I suggest to him that he would have had a more subtle and effective revenge if he had treated the gentleman who would not say please with an elaborate politeness. He would have had the victory not only over the boor but over himself, and that is a victory that counts. The polite man may lose the material advantage, but he always has a spiritual victory. I commend to the liftman a story of Chesterfield. In his time, the London streets were within the pavements of today, and the man who took the wall had the driest footing. "I never give the wall to a scoundrel," said a man who met Chesterfield one day in the street. "I always do," said Chesterfield, stepping with a bow into the road. I hope the liftman will agree that his revenge was much more sweet than if he had flung the fellow into the mud. In short, the author concludes by saying that every little act or behavior of a person has the power to sweeten the general air in his surroundings. There is a general proverb which says, "Give respect and take respect." We must follow the civilities if we are to make our lives kindly and tolerable. We cannot get them back by invoking the law, but it can be done easily by our own behavior. In case of a liftman, if he was more patient and acted accordingly, he wouldn't have got into trouble, and connects the story of Chesterfield. Chesterfield was walking on the road where there was a narrow pavement. A man comes across and was not ready to get down the road so that Chesterfield would move forward. Instead of quarrel, Chesterfield steps down the road and lets the other man to move. Hence, our simple act will play a major role in maintaining peace in the society. So, the moral of this lesson is good behavior is a good investment to the society with good returns in the form of good behavior from others. Assignment of the day. First one, who had trampled on the author's sensitive toe? Second, what, according to the people, is the cause for dampening of the everyday civility? Thank you, children. Have a good day.